By the way, guys, I have posted the link of the meeting minutes in the chat. Make sure you add your name in the attendees list. By the time we start the YouTube live.
Yep, we're live.
Cool. Then we are live. All right, everyone, welcome to the website call. Today is the 16th of January. This is the website call where we discuss everything about our websites, right from open PRs to open issues and issues you need triage on, or any of your recently merged PRs. So like any other layer 5 website call, layer 5 meeting, we have a meeting minute, we have a Google Doc, which is called the meeting minutes, where you can add your name in the attendees list to make sure you tell us that you're there, you're attending. And below that, we have the agenda items that we are going to discuss today. So before that, we also encourage newcomers in our call. So if there are any newcomers, this is the right time to introduce yourselves and say a hi to all of us. Like I see a couple of newcomers in this call today. I think okay, if anyone would not like to introduce themselves by choice, then I'll have to take names. Bhumika, is this the first time you're joining the call?
Hello.
Yeah, is this the first time you're joining?
Am I audible?
Yeah, you're audible.
Yeah, this is my first layer 5 meeting. Yeah, I have joined it today. Myself, Bhumika. Currently, I am a student pursuing my BTech. I'm in my second year and my discipline is data science and AI, and I am a budding developer and curious about open source.
Cool. Welcome to the community, Bhumika. I hope you have a lovely time in the community. I thought you were giving more introduction, so there was just a pause for a moment, but yeah, welcome to the community.
But more importantly, it doesn't really dissolve as
next up we
easily
have,
as
I think,
protein. So I'll show you.
Someone called Johnny. If I'm right, is this the first time you're joining the call, Johnny?
Cool. No, Johnny's been here before, and Johnny has a particular adeptness to UX. So he's been busy inside of Figma on a couple of different projects. But yeah, and so just since I interjected, Bhumika, very nice to have you. If you don't mind, actually, Bhumika, and the same goes for Johnny. If you guys don't mind tossing in your last names into Zoom, please do. And then, unfortunately, the same thing goes for Sean. It just so happens sometimes last names don't show up. But there's a bunch of reasons for the last name. I mean, one of them is because I think there's only, last time we counted, oh gosh, is it 86 Adityas in the community? Or like, there's more than one of most of us. So same thing goes for Deepesha. If you could ask your last name, add your last name as well, it'd be great.
Cool. Well, I think the third newcomer we have is Karan. So Karan, would you like to introduce yourself? Karan, I see that your mic is on, but if you're trying to speak, you're not audible. Okay, then it seems that Karan is having a problem with his mic. So when he gets his mic fixed, he can introduce himself to us. But then for now, let's move on with the call. We also had someone called Nokia G20 in the call, but then okay, I suppose he's gone now, so he's not a newcomer anymore. Cool. Let's begin with the agenda items today then, if we don't have any more newcomers in the call. First up, from the layer5.io side, we have, do we have a topic left from the last one? As you can see, someone's
Yeah,
looking
I know.
perfect.
Hey, good. I'm going to go ahead and mute just a couple of folks that are not speaking at the moment. But when you get muted, if feel free to unmute whenever you have something to say. It's just sometimes there's background noise. I did write down performance there as a topic from last call because Udit Thakur has no small PR, and I think it's his first on Layer 5 IO. So hats off to him. But I guess it's listed down below, so we're okay. I just wanted to say, because I don't know that it was necessarily clear, because Sean, I get the sense that, do you have a cold now? Is it like the winter cold for you?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, your voice is a little bit low, and so I don't know that everybody's necessarily heard you, like Karan or Karan. If you haven't introduced before, feel free to. Is this Karan Git, the Karan that contributed on play.meshry.io? Brought some dark mode to play.meshry.io? Is that the Karan that we're looking at? Or is this speaking of dark mode, there was another Karan that opened up dark mode for Meshry docs? Say hi in chat if you can. It looks like we've got Aditya joining. What do you know? Mr. Singh. Great. So most of us have been round. So did Siva Nayak, did you join on voice, or is that just your bot? The reason I ask is Siva, we finally broke through on GitHub Codespaces. So one of the community members had posted about how to run Meshry in Codespaces. So this is a random announcement. I think this is actually hopefully helpful for everyone here. We had a principal product manager from GitHub join our community call a couple of months ago. Craig Peters, a good friend, to introduce Codespaces, and we went through an effort to make it such that people can build and run Meshry using Codespaces, which ends up being really important for a number of us who have underpowered or normally powered machines and can have a difficult time sometimes running Meshry, Kubernetes, a couple of Meshry adapters, maybe a service mesh, maybe a bunch of stuff that consumes all your memory. And so Codespaces was to help with that. GitHub had promised to give us an all-you-can-eat of Codespaces for the project. And so I encourage you all to go try to build Meshry using Codespaces. See if you're successful, see if it helps you at all as you go to contribute there. So, random side note.
Yeah, cool. Again, before we move on, I think we have bumped up to 20 participants from 16. So there's one more newcomer I see. That is Deep Pandey. So hi Deep, would you like to introduce yourself first? Okay. Deep, am I audible? Okay, cool. I think there's some problem with Deep's mic as well, or maybe the audio. But yeah, moving on. I was talking about the first agenda, which was Chino's drop-down filter bug, which I think got merged. Chino, would you like to show us your PR?
Yeah, it got merged. Am I audible?
Yeah, you're audible.
Okay, I'm just sharing the screen. Is it visible now?
Yeah, it's visible.
Okay. So this was the PR that got merged a couple hours back. So the issue was like the drop-down filter which I worked on, like in the layer 5. Just yes, here. The drop-down filter was broken because of some restricted variables. Now it is perfectly fine, and if it has merged a writer badge and the UI UXer badge, yeah, here and here. So I made this PR and completed the task. Like now it is showing the writer. Currently we have only one writer now, And if you go to the profile, the writer icon also shows in the individual profile icon profiles. Okay. And if you click on this, yeah, it redirects to the layer 5 writing program. So that was it. And this help Nikhil helped me a lot in like working on this. So I don't think he's in the meeting right now, but yeah, big thanks to him and helping me. The only task here is that like we have to update the individual profiles like who are writers and UI UXers. So currently there are no UI UXer. If you just visit it, it's like empty. So this was it, the PRN. It's completely working fine and shows all the active members.
That's great. Great efforts, Chino. Which brings me to the joint topic, which is handing out the UI UX patch. Is Casey on the call today? I suppose. Okay, he's not. But yeah, as you pointed out, there are no UI UX members. We are handing them out. We are still working on that. So we'll
Yeah, the
shortly
only
have
task is here, like update the badges of the individual members. So it will be better to find them.
Yeah, looks good. It's already merged, right? So yeah, great work.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Cool. Thank you, Chino. Next up, we have with its major PR, which is about improving the layer5.io's performance. So, Udit, would you like to share your screen?
Yeah, just a second.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, so from last week, I have added all the things which were missing, like the script had API in some pages, and there was some problem with some images, which I have also fixed here. I think there was some also build error about the way we were loading the Google font, Google Tag Manager, sorry. This is how we fixed it. Then there is actually one deployment which we can test if the performance is now up to the mark. I have not actually done that.
So just to make sure everyone is on the same page, I'll just share the link to page speed insights in the chat so that you can have a look at the performance as well.
So roughly the performance is majorly between 85 to 95 on the mobile version, and I think it's pretty much that's what you can do. There is not anything else which I think I found which you can plug in this. So I think just we have to just review this once again if anyone wants to have a look.
So Udit, do you want to give a little bit of background as to why you were going through that effort, and maybe if there's particular things that you took away, particular learnings that you have? Mr. Tucker. So Udit, what were you doing that for? You were showing some scores.
Oh wait, am I audible now?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Second, what you saying? Yeah.
Yeah, Udit, we can hear you if you're speaking.
Can you just repeat once again what were you asking?
Can I? Yeah. Do you want to introduce? Do you want to tell folks what you learned and tell people what kind of an impact it's having?
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah, so the main reason which I started this was the performance of this landing page was very poor. I think which also like impacts if you of the search indexes, like if you want to search about Meshery, you might get that this performance of this website is very bad. So people won't be able to access it on mobile and any other thing. So there are multiple ways I think which I found we should improve the app. There are various parameters which Google also provides. First, contentful paint, time to interactivity, and all this stuff. The main issue about this app was that the largest contentful paint was very high, which was due to this images really about the images which are below the fold and eagerly all the images which are above the fold. Then there were some scripts which we were using, the third party script, which actually impact the performance. So we are loading it in a way that this does not impact the lighthouse code at the end, and also making sure that everything is up to date. Like we have alt attributes to all images, and we are loading all the fonts properly, and any extra packages which we might not require, we are using it so that we can reduce the bundle size of the application. If you want to have a look at a lot of things that I tried, there is one Notion doc actually, which details a lot of things. I think there are also some practices which I learned, which I think I will also add in the README file, like how we should use the SVG files. We can use the Gatsby image plugin instead of using the image tag every time, using the PNG image or other things. That's pretty much it. Yeah.
Udit, it's good as a retrospective. Is probably worth the time to take some of those learnings and update the contributing guide with them, so that because it's highly likely that we will regress if we don't be conscientious about some of these best practices. So you were just talking about images and like how to get them loaded, static image versus Gatsby image.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Sure.
Nice. So yeah, at least from where you had taken a screenshot here, or whomever had taken a screenshot, we were at a 48 score out of 100 for the speed of the responsive view site, the mobile-based view site. And as it turns out, as Google Analytics, or the Google bot, comes by and indexes the site, it does so from a mobile-first perspective. So it was bumping into the worst performance that the site has. And yeah, it looks like we're toward almost in the 90s now, upper 80s. So that's a massive jump. And it turns out, I think Colby and you, maybe some others, had identified the way in which Google Tag Manager was being loaded, not necessarily, and I guess this is a good point of clarification. It wasn't necessarily how we were using it as much as how we were loading it, or when or where we were loading it. Do you want to say a bit more about that? That was our.
Yeah. So, like previously, we were using one plugin, Google Tag Manager, which was loading it instantly. I think we can defer it by a few seconds because it is not required at the time user sees the first contentful paint, because it's not, because you usually just looking at the website, we are not necessarily requiring that many JavaScript at that time. So I delete that loading part initially when it's required.
Cool. Udit, can you show the code changes surrounding Google Tag Manager? So you were saying, yes, it was, one change was to defer it, not to be loaded in the head, or so I assume now is it simply that you've moved the loading toward the footer, or is there some other technique that's being used to ensure that it gets loaded after everything else is loaded?
Yeah, so I've added event listener after DOM content is loaded, and then I've added a set timeout. So it's either this, or either if a user scrolls so that we don't miss any events, and so it is loaded whenever it is actually required. And if we use it at the same time like we were doing previously, the amount of JavaScript required was like 2000 KB, which was actually slowing down the website initially. So yeah, which this and the Lighthouse score was actually depend on this purpose only, that how it's loading the first time, the initial thing.
Got you. In my mind, on line 6, that, by the way, I'm sure that I'm wrong, but just the way that my mind wants to interpret line 6 is like, yeah, I mean, this is saying if load up the Google Tag Manager either after 3.5 seconds have passed, well, 3,500 seconds, maybe it's 3,500 milliseconds, but like after 3.5 seconds have passed, or after the event DOM content loaded is received, or after someone starts to scroll, or after they move their mouse, or after they start to touch something. Can you explain that?
Okay, so after the DOM content is loading, I have added a set timeout, which is called this function init GTM, which is what doing is adding a global variable to true when it's activated. And so and this is creating all the script that now what all these event listeners are doing is that if there is less than, like, if a user does something like scroll or mouse move anything before this time, that event is just miss this event. So I think we don't want to miss any events or Google Tag Manager. So we will just call this function init GTM on event, which does it first. It checks if the Google Tag Manager has been initialized. So this checks this global variable. If it's already been initialized, it returns false and did not do all this stuff, and just continue with these events which you want to do in the first place.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, it's kind of. Does anybody have critical feedback here? Anybody see a potential mishap occurring?
I think Nikhil also said something which I also tried. He says we should use a script API. This mentioned in there, like deferring the initial script loading. But actually, the time to interactive in this case was around 11 to 12 seconds. But the current which we are doing takes around 8 seconds. So that's why we shifted to this for that. I mean, so I couldn't find anything more optimized than this. So if anyone knows anything.
Okay, good. Well, Udit, by the way, your voice is cutting out a whole lot. And so actually your write-up after this, or some of the suggestions that you have to go into the contributing.md, those will be really helpful. We want to make sure that we stay top performing. I think there might be a couple of things that will perpetually plague this site in its current form. One of those is that there's no content distribution network that we're paying for or using. There's no CDN that we're using. We're just relying on Google Pages, GitHub Pages and GitHub's CDN. And it uses S3 from AWS, I believe, and maybe they do some CloudFront stuff. And I don't know, maybe that's public. And so there's only so we're not trying to accelerate toward the edge just yet, or we're not, as a community, paying for that. That's one thing that could potentially be done in the future. Another one is, well, shoot, I think I lost my train of thought.
I think cache policy was left.
Oh, caching policy, yeah. So cache content control. It has.
Yeah. Yeah, so I looked it up, and I think the way we can do it was in the GitHub settings, which we are using. I think GitHub Pages. So I think who have access to them can.
You can set that stuff server side, but you can also just set it client side inside of your headers, inside of each of the page the head of each page. Just set a metadata tag of content for your cache control. And so, yeah, we should investigate that more, because some things just don't change. Like the video that I thought was part of the culprit here, the video that gets loaded on the main page, it hasn't changed in many, many months. And so for a second time visitor, yeah, we should make sure that we're caching that long term.
Yeah.
I know what I was going to say. There's something else I was going to say, and we'll get off of this topic because we're like halfway through the meeting. But that is that, so this site, Layer5.io, and then the other 9 or so sites that we have, including Meshri UI, they're all hooked up with Google Analytics. And part of the reason that Udit and others have worked on the performance of Layer5.io is that, well, it helps represent all of those projects. And so ideally, and performance affects SEO, and SEO affects PageRank, and PageRank affects whether or not the rest of the world finds out about the things that you all are doing. And so it becomes quite important. Google Analytics, and we use a couple of other tools, but these are, any of you are welcome to get access to Google Analytics for these sites and to peruse the statistics, the user profiles, the search, who's searching for what, and that kind of a thing. So if that's of interest to you and you want to work toward SEO oriented things, then know that Google Analytics is a community resource that's available to you, and just message here or in Slack about it. Cool. That's great. So Udit, in your mind, are we ready to merge here?
Yeah.
Awesome. Great job, Udit. We'll look for some of your doc updates. It's great. It's really great. Great. I don't have any other adjectives this morning. It's just great. It's pretty great, man. Ishan, what's next?
Yeah, great work by Udit. yeah. Sorry. Great work by Udit on the performance issue. Next up, we again have one more performance issue, which is, I think, right. Next up, we have Arunima's topic, which will not be taken today because she's not here due to exams. So we'll skip to the next topic, which is Avi's performance issue, which talks about using Gatsby static image instead of the IMG tag. So Avi, would you like to share your screen and tell us more about your pull request?
Hello everyone. I am Avi Kumar. Sorry, I didn't introduce at first because I joined quite late.
Okay, so is this the first time you're joining the call?
Yes, I'm joining the first time, the website's meeting. Yeah.
That's great. Then we'd love to have an introduction from you.
Yeah, so my name is Avi Kumrawat, and I am in my 4th year of college, doing an integrated course in information technology, and just started my open source journey with Layer 5, and I have done quite like to jump into the backend part also, Golang part. But now, for now, I am doing the UI work. So the latest work I have done is that. Let me share my screen.
Yeah, first of all, yeah, great. Welcome to the community. Hope you join more calls like this. It's great.
Thanks, Ishan.
Yeah.
I hope my screen is visible.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I've done on the same. I've done my work on the same topic as Udit discussed. So the work was to replace all the image tags with the Gatsby own component, which is called static image. So yeah, it was in the Layer 5. It was on the Meshri section of the Layer 5 main website, and I learned that how it improves the performance. But I am looking to dive dive deep into this, how static image improves the performance. I have not seen it like statically, that how it improves the. I've just like read it that static image is better than IMG tags. So I will research quite more that how it improves the performance. And Udit helped a lot, helped in this PR. And yeah, I guess the PR is ready to be merged.
That's
That's
great.
it, I guess.
That's great, Avi. Great for your first contribution, I think. But yeah, great work again. Anything, even a slight improvement in performance is ultimately counts towards the greater number, which is obviously great work done. So,
Yes.
any
I
feedback
think
for
there's one thing to be done, that after this PR, like I have to see how much it has improved the performance. I have not checked it yet. I've just replaced it. But yeah, that's about to be done.
for that? I think Udit can help you because the preview which
Yes.
we get through Netlify, there's a, if I'm not wrong, there's a Chrome extension through which you can check the live score of the site with the Netlify
Yes,
plugin.
yes. Yeah, actually I was having the issue in that Netlify preview. I was not able to check it, so I will look into that.
Okay, cool. No issues, Avi. Great work done in the PR. So, any feedback for Avi, guys?
What other images do we need to perform this same task on?
Sorry, I didn't get you, Lee. Can you repeat?
Good. How many images did you update in this particular PR?
Okay, okay. So I worked on the Mesri page of the Layer 5 website. So like
Cool. So good.
I
That's enough. Yeah, that's enough of an answer. So actually, so Avi, great man. The Meshry page, it's an important one. It has a number of images.
yes,
Yes.
like in total 5 to 6 images.
Great.
No.
Which page are you taking on next?
Yeah, I will be happy to take any of it, but yeah, I have not thought of it yet. But I will let you know on Slack what can be done, or you can suggest me what can be done next, like
Yeah. There's
an important.
There's about 3 Meshry pages. There's like a
Mm-hmm.
install it. There's an how it works, and then like a features overview. Yeah, each of those would be wonderful. There's another one on the Docker extension, Meshry Docker extension. It's got a few images on there. Yeah, if you're up to the challenge, I mean, that'd be great.
Okay. I will.
Sean, what's next?
Yeah.
Thank you, Avi. That's great.
Yeah, that's great, Avi. Thank you.
Thank you.
Cool. The next item we have on the list is again a very major topic, which is Sohail's converting the filters on the integrations page on Layer 5 to a stack, a carousel, I think. Is Sohail on the call?
Yeah, I'm done. Yeah.
Okay, would you like to share the screen?
Yes, definitely.
We don't have the link to the issue in the meeting minutes. Do you mind if you share the link in the chat so that everyone can have a look at the issue? And also, if you're speaking, you're not audible. So
Hey, Suhail, you're on mute. Do you want to come off mute and present?
Yeah, I thought I lost audio for a moment there because, yeah, sure.
Yeah. Hello everyone.
Yeah, you're audible now.
Yeah. So the task was to convert these integration filters from stack view into a carousel view. So there were some changes suggested by Casey and Franklin. So I have made the suggested changes. So if there are any more changes that needed to be done, so you can suggest. Like,
Yeah, would you like to give us a brief introduction about the issue, like what we had before,
yes,
what problems
we
we had with the stack filters? Yeah,
yes, previously this as you can see here filters in integration fields we were having a stack view like. So the problem was if the filter increases the so the stack size will increase. So the changes needed to be done was to convert into a
Yeah,
carousel view.
wait. Hey, guys, let me interrupt just because I don't think I can take this.
Yeah.
Here's what you do is you say, to ensure that everybody's able to follow along, you say, hey, here's the current site. Here's the problem that we have is that there's a large number of integrations forthcoming for what Meshry will support. And that's fantastic. There's 150-ish that are posted right now. And that number will only grow. And so Suhail and gosh, there were a number of people involved. Casey and the UXer that worked on this was Botany, had had identified that, and Gangan Preet, there's a bunch of people that worked on these integrations and continue to. We, at one point, figured out that we're showing so many integrations on the homepage, it's slowing down the load time of the homepage. And it's just too much for people to try to digest. And depending upon if you're using Safari like me, the animations here might be a bit slow. And so for a bunch of different reasons, we didn't want to necessarily present all of the integrations on the first page. And so there's a see all button, or there's a search that people can use. One of the aspects of this page that Suhail has descended upon and worked on is the notion that these 150 or so integrations, well, they're categorized into different buckets, with respect to what type of integration they are. And rather than showing just like potentially a stack of 3 or more lines of categories like this, we worked on, well, reducing it down to 1 row like this. And Suhail, yeah, do you want to, so there's a couple of issues that I'm seeing, at least with the last build. Maybe the next build, maybe it won't have those.
Yeah, there are issues related to that previous and next icons. Yeah, so I'm looking into it more.
Okay, and what are the issues? Just the one that I'm seeing here, or are there other issues?
Like if we go in the dark mode, yeah, over on the icons. Where's the previous and the next icon? Yeah, that border.
Yep, I see what you're saying. Okay, so good. Does anybody have any feedback for Suhail? I think I have one more. Suhail, I don't know that what we've got for those arrows is necessarily in line with the mock-up. Do you mind double checking? Because I'd be surprised if we agreed to use those arrows. Yeah, good. Cool. So Ishan, do we have a next topic? You're muted.
Yeah, are we done? I thought Sohail had something to say about the arrows.
Yeah, I'm looking into it. Like I'm trying to change the icons as I'm using React with icons.
Okay, cool. Sohail, thank you. No problem. I hope you've got your feedback. Next up, we have Shivam's mesh map designs. Shivam, would you like to share your screen and show us your design?
Yeah. So hi everyone. Just screen. Okay. Here we go. So this is some designs that I created for the mesh map page. As you can see, well, it all boils down to how mesh reconnects with all the adapters and other services. And then here is some space for we can have more content on this as well. And this is a static image, but we need to try to embed some videos. And so we can add animations that when we scroll, this can scroll downwards and a video shall appear here. And similar is for the visualization. And for collaboration, we also need some content here. And then this is the power-ups that were listed. There was an animation and that can be added here, and the deployment model. So yeah, this is the main designs that I have worked on. And since we are to soon launch MeshMap to the public, so yeah, I think it would be great if you consider some new refreshments for the website.
Has anyone had feedback? I think the page and maybe the multiple pages that Shivam is talking about, it's layer5io/meshmap. So if you look at what the page is.
This is the current page. So this the designs are for this page, and we can also, as Lee suggested, we can also add a new website for MeshMap if we have all the required content.
Great. Your designs are looking good. Sure. For the eyes, they look good at the first glance.
Yeah. Thanks.
Your designs are easy on the eyes. Nice. Well, so Johnny, Johnny, I wonder if you might have any feedback. There's a couple of designs here that Shivam is presenting. Johnny might have feedback, or Gangan Preet or others. I have miles of feedback. But does anybody? Well, one of the things to consider is the existing style of the site, and whether or not people feel like they're on the same site or a different site when they visit this page or these designs. And so, yes, I suppose I'm insinuating that these are a slight departure. I think slight is probably an accurate description, that they're not a significant departure. There's good use of white space here in these designs. I mean, these designs, if we want to be honest, like these designs are inspired from some of HashiCorp's sites, which we unabashedly take inspiration from, and they've got some great, they've got some products that are not too far away in context from what we want to do. They've got some great designers. They make use of black and white and just very few colors on their sites to help draw people's attention. So there's a lot of, they have some great design through simplicity. And so there's some things that are happening here in these designs that we do in some areas of layer 5 IO. So the shadow on this screenshot is one. We use shadows, but not necessarily always. One thing that we do sometimes is use perspective like this has, but not always. And anyway, it's okay that we don't want new designs to be held back necessarily based on the other pages. And the new designs have to be just as terrible as the current pages. Not that I think that the current pages are terrible, but just that isn't a mandate. I'm just sort of, for lack of anyone else articulating a few things, these are things to consider. I mean, I hesitate to even go through and like make a bunch of comments about all of the UX that HashiCorp would have already put into these thoughts. So the one thing though, that there's a couple of things that we probably do want to change around a little bit. And so Shivam, you incorporated our brand colors into these mockups, and that's good. Although like for this yellow, it's commonly we use that as a call to action color, like as a primary button color. And so to think about whether or not that's an appropriate use right there, but yeah. The blue here, the teal, so that teal is part of the brand. This is good. Maybe we would use, I don't know, it's interesting, maybe, I don't know. Anyway, if you all are noticing as well, like the lines that underscore the heading, they're gradients. So this one that's centered, the gradient for that line is thickest, or the opacity is on either side. So that's kind of nice, and you can see that happens on the left and the right. So this is good. One thing that probably is a little bit boring is the horizontal sections, how they are quite crisply individual sections, and there isn't necessarily a lot of flow between them. I mean, that can be good for like presenting individual thoughts, like a slideshow. But as a user kind of lazily scrolls their mouse wheel, we might look at, if you look on the homepage of Layer 5 IO, there's some nice, it's kind of nice when things sort of, one section blends into the next, if you know what I'm saying.
Okay.
Not that this page necessarily does that. Anyway, that's just some thoughts, random thoughts from me. See some of the graphical elements, like I don't know, like on the right hand side of Nighthawk, behind it, there's this super light grid of circles. You can take something like that and sort of use it between sections to provide, in literary terms, what would be a transition from one section to the next. So if you scroll down this page, you'll probably see more examples of how certain, see how the mesh map, the screenshot is larger than what would have otherwise been a horizontal green section. The same, so that's just like a way of bringing, anyway, who else has feedback on the designs?
Yeah, one thing that I noticed was even like a single color for each topic would work. It wouldn't hurt that every major heading has a single topic. Just a suggestion, not something you should implement, but yeah.
One last item for me, and that is that, it's more and more, it's nice if we're able to get a little bit of video or a little bit of animated GIFs. And I'm not saying, Shivam, you should have presented with that. That's not great. You did this work extremely quickly. This is great. rather what I was going to say is, well, as we consider maybe something like an animated GIF in a perspective like this, it's been my experience, and I only have so much experience, so this is why I'm bringing it up, is it's been my experience that, that there's some, it gets a little intense on the browser when, if you're playing an animated GIF and it's also rotated with CSS, and there's some perspective to it. So I wonder if we were missing something in the past. I wonder if that's still feasible. Does anyone have experience with that? An animated GIF that is given perspective and the overhead that causes?
Any other feedback for Shivam? Especially people, as just Lee said, people who have experience with rotated CSS animated GIFs.
One last thing as we go to the next topic is, Shivam, are these designs inside of the mesh map Figma so that those that might want to add comment later can do so?
Yeah, yeah, I'll just export them to the mesh map Figma page, team page.
Cool. Thank you, Shivam. I hope you got your feedback. So again, I think, okay, you guys can't see my screen, right? Just a second. Cool. So again, Arunama is not here today, so we are not going to cover this topic. She'll cover this topic in the next meeting. Next up, we have covered all the topics from Layer 5 IO site. Next up, we move to Meshy.io. And the first topic, which is the only topic we have, is Udit's topic of adding navbar for mobile. Udit, would you like to share your screen?
Yeah, wait, I'm sorry. Let me pull an audible if I can. We have about 4 or 5 minutes left. And one of the more important pieces of work that we have going on outside of the performance stuff is that from Ganganpreet and maybe some from Avi. There's a facelift happening on Meshri docs. Ganganpreet, what can you tell us about that effort?
Yeah, sure. So like, I'll share my screen. Haven't worked much, but yep. So this was the last work done by Krishna on this PR. So I did make some changes. So here was this font issue that the font was not being applied, the sans one. So I fixed that and like worked on some styles over here, like increase the gapping to make it look a little better. And of course, increase the thickness for this one. A little bit CSS improvement for this search bar as well. And yeah, so I was noticing that whenever like we are hovering, so this line comes up, and I feel that it is kind of like creating crowd. So I removed that and like applied these colors. So that's like the progress for now. I was fixing the tables as well. So yeah, there's still a lot of work pending in case of like increasing. You're able to hear me, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So I still like we have to increase the distance between these lines and a lot of other work as well, like other improvement for the footer as well. So yeah, I'll try to wrap this up by the end of this week, maybe. Yep, that's it for now.
Yeah, the dark, I must say that the dark mode colors seem to pop pretty well. I have a question for Ganganpreet and for everyone else on the call. This is something that I'm not sure of. I don't know. Ganganpreet, if you were to begin to reduce the width of the screen, and we were to see how the navigation bar and the interpage navigate sidebar and the intra-page contents, how those respond. So the first one to go is the global, not the global nav, but the sidebar nav. It is the first one to minimize and disappear. And actually at the same time, so too does the global nav go to a hamburger at that time. What remains is this intra-site thing. And if you notice, my goodness, there's a cost to that. It continues to take up, like you see all the white space down beneath it. So my question to you all is this, it's just, well, I just wanted to point that out and then figure out if that's the right thing or not.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, one thing I remembered from the Discuss forum, especially people who are moderators or admin relate, is that instead of having this global nav or an intra nav bar, as Lee said, we can have a small button, like we have something like what is it called, a spanner, and that button can later expand and give the two options to create a doc issue or edit this page, which will save all the space which is not being used right now.
I guess some of the good questions to ask ourselves is like, of these three navigation bars, there's the intra-page one, the table of contents across all the pages, and then there's the global nav. And one way of trying to answer this question is, well, which of these three do we anticipate visitors of the site use most frequently? Which one do they use most often? And it would seem like, if we can rank order those, it would seem like, to the extent that you would try to ensure that the ones that use the most are the ones that are minimized last, so that they're more accessible. That's a logical statement that I made. I don't know that that's correct. Yeah. When you get all the way squished down to like in the 500s, the 400s, like to what someone might have on a mobile device, the intra-page nav ultimately goes away as well. And is it recallable, or is it just gone? Is it just not there at all? Okay, it's just gone. Okay.
According to me, like it's fine. Like if we are having mobile and operating this site over there, so like I won't be clicking on like that. Won't be of much use according to me, because already the font size is too small, and then you'll be like placing your thumb and trying to click on it, and it's easy to scroll on mobile. So maybe it's like of a little importance in case of mobile devices.
Everybody, the nice thing about these discussions is everyone here can certainly have an opinion, and almost everybody here is qualified to have an opinion because you all browse websites all day long. And so you're a consumer of these things. And so, yeah, Johnny, any comment on this?
Hello, everyone. My thoughts would be users would get to use the table of contents more than the other hamburger menu. So I feel the table of contents should be probably the last to collapse. That's what I'd say. Because users getting to land on the documentation page will probably have something they're looking for in the documentation.
Yep, just to repeat what Johnny said, he said, hey, that left-hand side, the sidebar, the table of contents, you know, from his perspective, this is, you know, most of the three, this is probably the one that site visitors will make most use of. And so trying to optimize around keeping it open as long as possible is, because I think if I captured that correctly, then so. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, on most of the page. So this like the whole, I'll say this last thing and then we'll get off the call. And that is this homepage, it has like 2 columns to it. So you could imagine if we tried to keep the sidebar on as much as possible, maybe those 2 columns shifted into a single column thing. Most of the other pages, I think, are mostly just like single column or single. And so, yeah. One thing I will say, and I think Gangampreet would have gotten to this had I said anything or not, but that icon for the sidebar is, there's probably something better out there. So, anybody have anything else for Gangampreet?
Also, I was thinking if this global navbar, if we could just use the one that comes from the upside. Like there's too much blank space in here, as the global navbar won't be having much of the content. So there's too much blank space. Also, like if we are operating a website on a mobile, it is pretty easy if the navbar comes from the top. Because coming from the sides, it just like only clicking is pretty much difficult. Also, like the users are pretty much used to the navbars popping from the top. That's one thing from my end.
So Gangampreet, you've also added the light and dark mode switch on the Meshri docs as well. Is that part of your update?
Like, yep, this PR contains those changes as well, but I haven't worked on that. That was previously done by Krishna. So I'm just continuing his PR forward. So, but yeah, this PR contains the dark and light mode code.
Does anyone have anything else to say?
A quick question. Oh yeah, I remember. Actually, this has been a suggestion I think a couple of times, is that potentially of what's more intuitive than that upper left-hand corner document icon is like a pull tab. So you can see on the left-hand side, there's a shadow that's given when the sidebar is minimized to indicate that like there's something hiding over there. And if there were a pull tab about center, yeah, Gangampreet, were you going to finish off my sentence?
Yep, maybe we can try that as well.
But nice, yeah. And so, yeah, the effort started out as like, let's bring dark mode to the site, and then there was much uplifting happening, and so it's great. It's much needed. A rewrite, a healthy rewrite of about half the docs is also needed, because Meshri has done so much more than what's described here. And so for me personally, having the site, giving the site a facelift is encouraging to me to go spend some time to document things. Not that everyone else can't be documenting as well. But by the way, along those lines, geez, man, this is like the 4th time I'll say, this is the last thing I'm going to say. All right, this is the last thing I'm going to say. That is one thing that was just being discussed in chat, is like, you know, trying to form an opinion and help provide insight into these discussions. Another aspect of this site that there has been an open call for, there might still be an open issue if the Stalebot didn't kill it off, and that is the information architecture of this site. So what does that mean? It means that the site, there are certain sections. There's an overview section, concepts, functionality, service meshes. Is this the ideal way in which to present this information to a user? The architecture of this information, is it collected together in a way in which is most digestible? Like, I would contend that it probably isn't. That you might find other sites that lean into things like, well, is the user here to do installation tasks? Are they an administrator in which they might set up and configure this thing? Or are they, or do they already have it set up and now they're trying to use it deeply? They're trying to understand how these features work. And maybe they have certain tasks at hand. Maybe they're trying to provision a piece of infrastructure or trying to run a performance test. They're trying to understand how to interpret performance test statistics. Like, so the information layout, the information architecture of the site is also under fire. So if people have opinions there, please bring them. Also, there's been a call for maybe creating another site for MeshMap specifically. So I'll just toss that out there. There's yeah. Oh. Sean, you have to stop me because I'll just keep going. So.
No, it's fine. Cool, then I'll just share my screen.
Okay.
Cool, thank you, Gaganpreet. Again, this topic is, I think Gaganpreet has involvement in this topic as well, and she hasn't worked much on the dark mode. So I think it'd be best if we discuss this topic in the next one. And for the remaining topics, we are already over time, 11 minutes. So we'll discuss all these topics about the Disqus Forum integration in the next call, because Subaid is not there in the call as well. So yeah, that's all for today. We'll discuss all these topics in the next call. And yeah, that's all for today. Hope to see you in the next website call, which will be on the next Monday. Yeah. Bye everyone then. See you.
Bye.